Cut City Connect, Cut City Connect, Cut City Connect. Yeah. Houston Rocket News, everything you need. You know we keep it in check. Scores, interviews, and player stats. Yo, we keep it in check. Subscribe to see what's next. It's Cut City Connect.
All right, what is the deal, YouTube? It's been a little minute. This is your boy Tyler A.
And your boy AP.
And we want to welcome you guys to another episode of Clutch City Connect. And on this episode of Clutch City Connect, we have a special guest, a very special guest, Mr. Lachard Binkley. And you guys, you need to know him. But I'm going to let my main man introduce himself. You got the floor.
Well, first off, I appreciate y'all having me on. We've been trying to set this up, so I'm glad we finally got it done. But yeah, I'm Lachard Binkley. I'm a credential reporter covering the Vipers and the Rockets. I also have my own podcast, Rocket Fuel Podcast, with Vader. You know, he's an important man, so he couldn't join us tonight, but he really wanted to join us. But yeah, I do a podcast with him. I write for SB Nation and the Dream Shake. So my work is all over the place, and you can always follow me on Twitter at Binkley Hoops, Twitter X. I'm sorry, at Binkley Hoops.
Man, that Twitter X, it chokes everybody up.
Yeah, I told y'all.
All right, Mr. Binkley, let's go ahead and get into it, my man. So, first things first, what are your thoughts on the Houston Rockets season so far? And also, what are your thoughts on the trade for Steven Adams?
All right, so I'll start off with the Rockets, and I like to kind of look at it from where I thought they would be when I first looked at them beginning of the season. Because if you look at them now, you'd be like, they're under 500 team, they underperforming. But if you think about it, most people did not expect them to be at 23 wins before the All-Star break. They've already won more games than they won last year or any of the previous 3 seasons prior. So that's the way I like to look at it. To me, it's a success. I think they kind of came back. They kind of went back to what the team that they're going to be for the rest of the year, unless they make some type of big trade. Beginning of the year, they started a little bit slow. Then they had that big run, but they also had a lot of things go their way. They were playing a lot of teams that were without their main guys. They had a lot of days off between games. And as y'all know, if you have that many days off between games, you can get in practice time. You can rest more than other teams. They had a really weird schedule with the whole in-season tournament.
Yeah.
But now it's getting back to the normal where they're playing every other day. Now they're dealing with their own injuries with Tari Eason, who's been out for weeks. Hopefully he'll be back next week. And then they were out Dylan Brooks, and they was out, Amir Thompson. So they had to deal with a lot of their own injuries. So to me, so far, it's been a success. You're only like a game or two out of a play-in spot. You're fighting with 4 teams for 2 spots. And if, like I said, if you ask any Rockets fan at the beginning of the year, if they would have taken the Rockets being only a game or 2 out of the play-in spot around the All-Star break, I guarantee most people would have took it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have to say, it's been one of those seasons where you can look at it, even if they don't make the playoffs, you look at it as a success.
Yeah.
And not something that's been the same old when Steven Silas was here. I think we made a lot of progress, significant progress.
Yeah.
And I think the rookies that we have shown up and shown out. Know what I'm talking about.
Yep, absolutely.
But I kind of want to segue to this, man, and I hate that I have to talk to you about this, but we both know there's certain accounts that's been kind of trying to go at us about the way we feel about this specific player, but
every day. Every day.
Let's talk about Jalen Green.
Yeah.
So why is there so much hate towards Jalen Green, and do you feel like it's justified or is it overblown?
So I'll start with the second part first. So yes, he regressed a lot at the beginning of the season. He wasn't as good as he had been previously the last 3 years. But something I was trying to get across to people was you got to think about it. This is the first year where he's had a real structured offense. He didn't have it in AAU ball. He didn't have it with the G League Ignite, and we see how much of a mess G League Ignite is right now. So this is, in the course, the first couple of seasons playing under Steven Silas, whether you think it's Silas's fault or not, or the roster construction. that team was just basically another AAU G League Ignite team the last couple of seasons where it was just, hey, you get the ball, you score. It wasn't no type of structure. So this is the first year he has some type of structure. So now he's having to figure out how to play within a structured offense with a coach that's going to hold him accountable. Because we see, any young guy, you ain't playing well, you're not playing in the fourth quarter. And that goes for Jalen Green. So that's been a big adjustment for him. But you've seen recently where he's really taken advantage of his speed and his athleticism, and he's learning how to play within the offense. Even last night, he didn't have a huge scoring game, but he also didn't over dribble. He also wasn't a ball stopper. He did exactly what he was supposed to do, which was take his opportunities and score at the basket. Occasionally, he may take a three, and that's another thing. He's not taking a bunch of wild threes like he was at the beginning of the season. So, yeah, I understand people were mad at him that, hey, he wasn't playing as good as people thought he would because the whole third-year jump myth that I guess they get from Anthony Edwards. Not everybody's Anthony Edwards, so you can't really judge Jalen by Anthony Edwards standards. But I think a lot of it is overblown just because, let's be honest, these days there's a lot of stan accounts on Twitter, on social media. I mean, I don't know how old y'all are, but I'm in my 40s, so I'm go back to the 80s and the 90s where people were fans of the Rockets and not fans of just individual players. So when you have fans of individual players, guess what's going to happen? When their player's not getting the ball, they got to blame somebody. A few years ago, it was Christian Wood. Last couple of years, it was a certain guy with initials K and P. We all know who that is. That's not here anymore. So now, you got Jalen Green. Now he's the scapegoat. You don't have Silas here anymore, so you got to find somebody to blame. And they're not going to blame Şengün because let's be honest, Şengün has been the best player. So I get that. But you got a lot of stan accounts, and this is what happened. You got to blame somebody. They don't want to blame MA yet because he's not going anywhere anytime soon. So guess who they're going to blame? They're going to blame Jalen Green, and that's what a lot of it comes from. Because if you're a real basketball fan and you actually pay attention to the game, you understand that, yeah, he hasn't been playing great, but to sit up and say that I've literally seen people say he's one of the worst players in the league, the Rockets should just cut him. I've seen just all kind of crazy stuff. Even when he has a good game, well, now he's taking shots away from Şengün. So it's like some people you can't really satisfy. So that's where a lot of the hate is coming from. And we've seen recently now that he's playing really well, a lot of these haters are trying to find different ways to hate on him, but it's not working now because he's out there averaging 28, 29 points in the last 5 or 6 games. It's a lot harder to hate on somebody that's doing that.
I agree. And the one thing I have to say to that, so whenever Jalen Green is having a bad game, and I don't really know if he's truly taking it in or not, but I'll tag him on Instagram. Aaron does it as well. Kind of cheer him up, when he has good games. I say, man, that's the JG I know, and I actually see him pop up on there to look at it. Now he could just skim through it or whatever. Yeah. But I hope he's taking that in to say that, hey, I have guys that are in the Rockets community that are actually supporting me and not going at me, because he's dealing with that a lot. And as a 21-year-old man who's still trying to figure out the world and has stuff going on in the background, I think we all have heard the little rumor that's kind of flying out there, but we ain't going to talk about it. But, him as a young man, that can cause severe detriment to his psyche. And I think he needs as much support as he can get, all the kids, not just singling one out, because he still has time. And that's what a lot of people are understanding. He is only 21 years old. It's not like he's 23 or 24 and he's shown exactly what he can do. No, we know he is a good basketball player. We know he could be better. Yeah. And it's crazy because there's a guy that I'm cool with on Twitter. Me and him, we have a lot of discourse. And he's been on the trade Jalen Green ship. Well, lately, he hasn't been on that ship. He realizes that Jalen Green has that talent. But I think his thing is that, and I think maybe a lot of Rockets fans could agree with this, that Jalen Green was a little bit of a disappointment in the beginning of the season. And he only showed spurts. And going into year 3, you don't want to just show flashes. You actually want to show that potential. Yeah. So I think that a lot of people were kind of turned off from that, and that's the reason why we're seeing so much backlash. And we're seeing, he had a good game. What he had, 34, 12, and 7 against the Lakers. I mean, he showed out.
Yeah.
And they were trying to say, "Oh well, he just had one game. It's one game." It's like,
yeah.
do you guys realize how difficult it is to score in the league with the length, the size, the athleticism, the fact that the court is already cut in half, but now you have a player that's defending you that might be taller than you, have a longer wingspan than you. You have to work hard to get around that player. Do you guys not understand that, or do y'all see it from a one world view?
Right.
There's a lot of different factors that goes into it. I don't mean to go on a whole diatribe. I apologize for that, guys.
No, I mean, like I said, I agree just because, and another thing you got to look at with Jalen Green, like you said, he's still extremely young. I mean, I know we've been watching these guys for some of them for 3 years, so we think, man, they've been in the league for a long. No, these guys are still like basically kids. I mean, I look at them like these guys could be my kids when I'm talking to them, and it's just kind of crazy if you're looking at it like, man, these guys are just extremely young. So anytime they call in a 30-something-year-old uncle and Jeff Green, I'm like, man, that makes me feel old. So the way I look at it is you got to give them more time. I think, we may talk a little bit more about this about the trades, but I think that's the way the Rockets look at it. I mean, I've talked to some people in the Rockets organization, and they're like flabbergasted, like, man, what is with all this hate towards Jalen Green? I mean, he's still a young guy. You talk to him, he doesn't throw anybody under the bus, even when he was having a really bad, a stretch of what was that, like a month or two of bad basketball. He didn't throw anybody on the bus. He wasn't trying to make a bunch of excuses. So it's not really a reason to hate on him. I understand criticism. Everybody should be able to be criticized. I don't care who it is, including Alper and Shangoon, and hopefully Turkey fans don't, fill up my inbox now. But everybody should be able to be criticized, and that's the way I look at it. I criticize anybody. I don't care who it is. If you do something you shouldn't be doing on the court, you can be criticized, but you shouldn't go overboard with it. That's just the way I am.
Yep, and that's to say, even Alper and Shangoon, he's had a lot of great games, but he has also had some bad games, and you cannot sit there and blame Jalen Green for the game that he had against the Pelicans?
Pelicans, yeah, when Jonas just took him to school, pretty much.
And most people don't understand the reason why they made that trade for Steven Adams was to handle bigger centers, more stronger centers, because Shingun struggles against those centers.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just feel like there's an agenda. It's either bench Jalen Green and have Cam Whitmore start, when in reality I feel like those two would mesh really well in the starting lineup together. Yeah. But maybe people are just seeing it from, and then it's just all this, we can only afford 6, so just trade them off now. Even like I say, it's a lot of different factors that's going on. I think that's a bunch of nonsense, and people are just trying to find any way to just get him off the team, even though he's still a good player and still shows that potential.
Yeah.
The worst thing, and I'll leave it at this before we go to the next thing, but the worst thing the Rockets could do is trade him now. Trade him now. He becomes a superstar and regret it.
Yeah.
Because if he's still figuring it out, and it's at the point where now it's like something's clicked, you don't want to trade him now. You want to see what he can do throughout the remainder of the season, and then the start of next season. And then you evaluate based off of what you see then.
And he's still on a rookie contract, so why would you give him up? Why would you give him up for like nothing against Mikal Bridges? I actually really like Mikal Bridges' game, but is he really that much better than Jalen Green to give up Jalen Green plus first round picks? I just don't see it, but yeah.
Jalen Green, if he really like puts himself there, and don't quote me on this, but I have had people tell me this. He could be right there with Anthony Edwards. The athleticism.
He could.
You guys gotta understand, in high school, those two were neck and neck dang near. I mean, that was the talk of the AAU circuit, was Jalen Green versus Anthony Edwards. Yeah. Obviously, we aren't seeing that now, but I think once Jalen Green puts everything together, I don't see no reason as to why he can't be maybe a step or two behind Edwards. And I think a step or two behind Edwards is still a really good basketball player, because Anthony Edwards is probably a top 5 player in the league now. So you have to factor a lot of that stuff in, It's just some food for thought for my viewers, our viewers. You know, we gotta get real on the show sometime, Mr.
Yeah.
Binkley.
Yeah, that's how it goes sometimes. You got to tell people what they don't want to hear.
What they don't want to hear. I
Yeah.
get tired of seeing Jalen get thrown under as a 21-year-old man. You know.
Yeah.
But so I wanna go ahead and segue and let's talk about the NBA trade deadline, right?
Yeah.
Almost
So
here. Deadline's almost here.
yes, sir, yes, sir. How many days we got till the deadline? 3,
Oh,
4?
yep. Next weekend, right? Next Saturday.
Thursday.
Or next
Thursday. Next
Yeah.
Thursday.
Yep.
So gonna be here pretty soon, right? So outside of the Steven Adams trade, what are some other moves you could see the Rockets making at the deadline?
So I know a lot of people have been, throwing out the rumors of, Jalen Green for Mikal Bridges or somebody like that. And the way I look at it is, I don't think the Rockets are now. Don't get me wrong. If they can get a star level player, of course they'll try to do it. But I don't think that's their main goal right now. Just because of what we talked about before, you got all these players still under a rookie contract. I don't think they're busting down people's door to try to get rid of Jalen Green or Jabari Smith or any of those type players. I think they're going to look for more, even though they did get Steven Adams. That's more of a future move. I think that they're still going to try to go find another backup big. Somebody like for me, a perfect match would be like an Andre Drummond because I don't think you would have to give up too much to get him. And if I'm not mistaken, I have to look it up, but I think he's on the final year of his contract, or he might have one more year after this. Of course, you would love like a Clint Capella, but Atlanta's probably going to be asking for too much, and I don't think Clint Capella is ready to be playing 10 or 15 minutes a game, so that may not work out necessarily. But then you have Daniel Gafford out of Washington. You have Nick Richards, who the Rockets just saw, Charlotte. So there's some other big men out there that they can go after. But like I said, Andre Drummond, that would be a perfect scenario, and I can't imagine Chicago will be looking for too much for Andre Drummond, who's already a backup behind Nikola Vucevic out there in Chicago anyway. So I think they're either going to do that or at least go for some type of shooting off the bench, because even though Cam Whitmore has been great off the bench, you still need like somebody like a Quentin Grimes, even though I don't know if y'all saw the reports of talking about Tyrese for Quentin Grimes. That's not going to happen. That's just insane. Like, I don't know, in no world that they're going to give up Tyrese for Quentin Grimes. But a Quentin Grimes type player, that's who the Rockets also probably go after. I just don't think they're going to be doing any huge moves where earth-shattering, where they're trading away 5 or 6 players to try to bring in a star-level player. I think they're going to bide their time to the offseason, see what the other players do on the team, and then who knows who's going to be up for grabs at that point. I don't think anybody on the team is going to be untouchable going forward this offseason, even Alper and Şengün. I think if the Rockets – because we got to remember, M.A. may not be the general manager, but he has a lot of say in what players are coming in. I guarantee that Steven Adams trade, M.A. had a lot to do with it. You can just tell by the way he was talking about him. That's his type of player. So you got to remember, M.A.'s not tied to any of these players. I mean, maybe players like Fred and Dylan, because he did have a hand in bringing them in here. But a lot of these young guys, M.A. is, he's trying to win. He ain't worried about rebuilding. He ain't worried. I mean, yeah, he want to develop these players, but at the end of the day, he's trying to win games, because I don't care if you're on the contract. Go ask Adrian Griffin out of Milwaukee. You can still get fired. So he's trying to win games. He ain't worried about a rebuild or trying to get a high draft pick. So just keep that in mind this offseason. But for now, I think the Rockets are going to be patient.
For sure. Hey, what are your thoughts, my man?
That's what I was just thinking. An Andre Drummond type move.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a safe move, especially if he's under expiring contract or like another year with it, because you'll have Adams too.
Yeah.
And then, another shooter like Grimes or Malcolm Brogdon, if you could get him somehow. Or
that's a good name.
That'd be about.
Yeah, so I don't want to see any Jalen Green for Anthony Simons trade. It's just that no.
Yeah, that doesn't fit at all on this team. That wouldn't work.
Goodness. And like I was telling somebody in that retrospect, right, in that aspect, Anthony Simons didn't start balling until his 4th season. his fifth season, he's doing his thing. So I'm like, you guys got to give Jalen Green time. Not to go back over that, but just to say, I do personally feel that I think they should hold on to the kids for now. Hold on to the kids, let them develop. If you make the play in, that's a great thing. If you don't make the playoffs altogether, then I mean, you still give your flowers because you still prove that this team was a better basketball team from the past 3 seasons to now.
Yeah.
So, my personal thoughts, I do think they need a big man. They need somebody that can actually play now. I was talking to Aaron about this a little while ago. I did want them to kind of look at Wendell Carter Jr. I thought that was somebody that I think they should look at. Nick Richards, he's another one. He's young. Andre Drummond, you can get him for cheap. Just let him play throughout the season. He adds that toughness. And, man, let me tell you, I saw Andre Drummond against the Rockets when Harden was here, when they had that kind of weird season. They were the AC. Drummond is built like a defensive lineman, like an end. Like, he has a tremendously strong build, AP, I'm telling you. So he's one of them players. I'm like, you could bring him in. He's gonna bring that toughness. He might do a little Shaq in the Fool move every once in a while. But with Drummond, he's kind of one of those players. Unfortunately, he should have been the Dwight Howard 2.0, but he's just one of them players. He know who he is. He's come in, high level hustle player. Grab rebounds, get offensive rebounds. Put the ball back in the bucket. And, do the dirty work. So we need players like that, at least somebody that can last us through the season until Steven Adams is fully cleared to play, which will be next season. So I feel like all of those moves will be good. I would like to see Clint Capella back in Houston. I just don't know what we would have to give up in order to get Clint Capella. And they also talked about A.J. Griffin. Now, if you're going for both of them, then you're going to have to give up a little piece of something. Not just one thing, but maybe 2 or 3 things. And I think that's something the Rockets should kind of avoid for now. But I do feel like they should scour the market, tread carefully, tread lightly. Don't give up on the kids unless you have something that you can really do. If the Rockets do trade for Zach LaVine, I'm no longer a fan. I've seen people throw that out there, Mr. Binkley. I'm telling you, the man is out for the season now, so it don't make any sense.
I mean, he's basically an older Jalen Green, so I don't.
An older Jalen Green.
It's like it wouldn't make any sense. Like, I think people get like enamored with names, so they just throw out names. Like, you gotta remember, these people got to fit with the players you already got. And I know Fred VanVleet is really on an expiring deal next season, even though he has 3 years. The Rockets don't have to give him that 3rd year. But VanVleet more than likely is still going to be here next season. So you got to find somebody that's going to mesh with him because M.A. loves Fred. He's not going to bench him. Ahmed's not going to start in front of him, even though I know a lot of people like that. Ahmed's going to have his time. It's not yet. Yep. So you just got to remember, you got to fit with Fred VanVleet in that backcourt and some of the other players the Rockets had. You can't just throw names up against the board and just hope that they'll work. That's just not how it works.
Like I tell people, and AP, you can vouch for me. I've told people that I believe that Fred VanVleet is the bridge point guard. I think he knows that as well. He's here to say that, hey, when Ahmed is ready, my contract is done. I'm out of here. Or if they need to give me for 1 more year after that 2 years pretty much done, I'm here. If it don't work out with Ahmed, they could. It's several different options, several different ways they can go about it. Yeah. But for right now, we want to talk about here. So that is what it is.
Well, Tyler, since we're talking about all these players we want, what about the players we got to trade away? Who do you see the Rockets trading to get some of those pieces?
Well, I think Tate is the odd man out one way or another, either by him going to the bench and getting DNPs or getting traded. He's definitely the odd man out. After that, I mean, that's when it gets kind of dicey. That's when you're going to have to probably throw in some other picks because you're talking about trying to maybe trade Jock Landale. Like, who's going to want Jock Landale for just having Jock Landale? They're going to want something else. And then possibly you already got rid of Victor Oladipo's contract. So it's really Landale and it's Tate. And then once you go past that, then you start talking about people in the rotation. So I think those two players are the main two players that you're going to give up. But again, if you're going to get one of those players, unfortunately, they're probably going to have to give up. Like if it's a Nick Richards or somebody like that, a younger guy, or Wendell Carter, they're probably going to have to throw in one of those later first-round picks because Jock Landale and Tate by themselves is not probably going to get it done.
Nah.
So, AP, to answer your question, my man, so like Mr. Binkley said, Jayshawn Tate is just one of those prime guys. I think at this point you have to go ahead and give him more time because he's already proven that he's ready to go. He's ready to ball out. And I think Tate just kind of takes up that space. Right. So you have to free up some time. So I feel like Tate, I'll go over the expendable guys. So Jayshawn Tate, pretty much the bench guys, Aaron Holiday, Jock Landale, Boban Marjanovic, who they're not going to trade for some reason.
No.
And Reggie Bullock, who I think will make it past the deadline. Don't quote me.
I forgot all about Bullock.
But I do feel like he will be in a trade if necessary. But I think he's just one of those guys. If somebody in the starting lineup or is not doing well, like how Jalen Green has kind of just been a little inconsistent, he gives Reggie Bullock some time to say, "Hey, go out there and just go shoot an open three for me, please. Just go make something." So the only guys that I really see here that are gonna likely not be Rockets past the trade deadline is Jock Landale and Jayshawn Tate. Now, where those guys end up, I don't know, but I know all of us in the Rockets community has had our hands up in unison that Jock Landale needs to find a new home. So in that regard, I don't see Landale making it past the trade deadline, being a member of Houston Rockets. I see Tate landing a new home, maybe a contender. I see that for him. Boston, Phoenix is interested, especially if they don't get Miles Bridges. So there's just some things to kind of look out for. Like I said, Marjanovic isn't going anywhere. He's a locker room guy. He presents a presence, and you can't teach size. The man is a freakishly tall human. Yeah. So you can't teach that size and the build that he has. He's a big dude, so he moves around very well for his size. So he's definitely not going anywhere. But that is exactly who I think will be going and not be Rockets. I think it's Tate, and I think it's Landale. Yeah. So, Mr. Binkley, I'm not gonna hit you with a curveball tonight, my man. You done answered every single question thoroughly. If anybody asked the curveball, it was AP, man. He hit me with it. He hit me in my stomach with that one.
I appreciate it.
But we want to say, Mr. Binkley, thank you so much once again for coming on the show. You're going to hear that 12,000 more times. We hope the next time that you do come, Vader joins you so we can have it rocking and rolling. But guys, this has been another episode of Clutch City Connect. We want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. We want to let you guys know, hey, you guys make sure you follow Mr. Binkley on all his socials. We'll post them in the description. You make sure you follow us, especially on our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, MySpace, Moco Space, All Space. So you make sure you follow us on every social media account there is because you can find us there. Once again, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. This is your boy Tyler A.
And your boy AP.
Thank you once again. Peace.
Peace.
Took 2 shots to the brain, Then I put the fire to the flame, Brought enough for the whole